Hello, I'm Marcus Boston. Quick educational video, and today we're going to talk about a question that I got, and that question dealt with a birth injury, but it was a little bit different because in this context, a midwife, the person who contacted me, they had been in the care of a midwife, and the question was, well, the midwife was negligent, and so can we sue the midwife? Is there, can we go forward with that? And I'm going to explain with you because really this question, it brings up a lot of other points too that are really important. And how we see this is just like I said, you will have an individual who will contact us. They will have been in the care of a midwife, but they also were being seen by either a women's clinic or a women's health center, and that midwife was an employee of that health center. And so the question is, well, if the midwife is negligent, can the midwife be held liable, and is there any liability possibly on the women's clinic or anybody else who may have been negligent? And the short answer to the question is that if an individual is negligent in these instances, then that individual in general, you're going to be able to hold them responsible for their negligence. Now, this question of the midwife and the women's health center and things like that, they do not get a pass if they're negligent. So if you're giving birth and there's some things that go on and there was some negligence that takes place and the midwife, for whatever reason, it does not act appropriately or misses certain things, and those actions or inactions are the cause of your child's injury at birth, then yes, you can hold them responsible. But there's also another thing in the law, easy way to say it. There's another issue here in the law that also allows you to hold the women's clinic, if there's a women's clinic that's there, or a women's health center. If that midwife is an employee of that other entity, then the employer, the person who is employing the midwife, they can also be held responsible under a legal theory called respondeat superior. Now, respondeat superior, in its most simple form, what it means is that the employer is going to take responsibility for the actions of their employee, as long as they are in the scope of employment. Now, there's some more other things that are there too, but what you really got to understand in this context, if the employee is negligent, then the employer will step in the shoes of the employee, and you can hold the employer can also be held responsible. So to bring this thing all back full circle, if the midwife is negligent in the care of your labor and delivery, and your baby has suffered an injury as a result of the midwife's negligence, then yes, the midwife will be held responsible. And if the midwife is employed by another agency, that agency can also be held responsible. This same concept will also hold true if there is a labor and delivery nurse also in with the midwife, which sometimes you can have that. That'll happen too. There'll be a labor and delivery nurse also at the hospital, assuming this birth happened at a hospital. A labor and delivery nurse will be there too. If that labor and delivery nurse is also missing things and that labor and delivery nurse is also negligent, then the labor and delivery nurse, that nurse can be held responsible. And if they are an employee of the hospital will also be responsible under that theory of what I said earlier, respondeat superior. So why did I take the time today to talk with you about this important and interesting concept? Because more than likely, if you're watching this video today, this was your question. Maybe your child has suffered an injury at birth and you're like, well, because I had a midwife, is there any action that I can take? Or is the women's clinic, if there's a women's clinic or a women's health center, if they're involved, or will they also be held responsible? And I'm just trying to help you understand the theories of liability and under certain factual circumstances in which these theories or these legal concepts in which they may apply. If you have more questions for me, There's a telephone number down below. Go ahead and pick up the phone and give me a call. I talk with families all the time about these issues. Maybe you're here because your baby has suffered an injury at birth. Maybe you had a midwife that was involved and you were at a hospital and you gave birth at the hospital. There was a midwife there. There were some things that were missed and now your baby has an injury. If you have these types of questions, HIE, CP, meconium aspiration syndrome, other types of birth-related issues, if you have these types of questions, go ahead and pick up the phone, give me a call. One more thing before I leave, I practice law here in the state of Maryland, and you got to understand that if you are not in Maryland, and if this is something that we think that we can assist you with, we have to use what we call co-counsel or local counsel, an attorney in your state to help with the case. All right, that's going to be it for today's quick educational video. Again, I'm Marcus Boston, and I'm one of the childbirth injury and medical malpractice attorneys practicing law here in the state of Maryland at Boston Law Group, LLC. And we will see you next time. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day.